This is Laura Vanderkam. I'm a mother of 5, an author, journalist, and speaker.
And this is Sarah Hart-Unger. I'm a mother of 3, a practicing physician, and blogger on the side. We are 2 working parents who love our careers and our families.
Welcome to Best of Both Worlds. Here we talk about how real women manage work, family, and time for fun. From figuring out childcare to mapping out long-term career goals, we want you to get the most out of life. Welcome to Best of Both Worlds. This is Laura. This is episode 227, which is airing in early December of 2021. We're going to be talking about our goals for 2022. Very exciting. We have been doing annual goal setting episodes since 2017, setting our goals for 2018. One half of the Best of Both Worlds duo is very excited about goals, as everyone knows who listens to Best Laid Plans. Sarah is all about goal setting. Our Patreon community is going to have access to a wonderful goal setting experience with Sarah. Just excited about that. But quick question, Sarah. Do you remember any of the goals you set in 2017 for 2018?
Oh, 2017.
So when we first did this, fall of 2017, setting our goals for 2018.
My guess is that, and we'll have to go back and verify, I was pretty gentle on myself because I would have been like 8 months pregnant or 9 months pregnant, depending on when we did the episode. And hopefully I didn't set super ambitious goals for my daughter's first year of life, because that I wouldn't advise my past or anybody else to do that. So I'm going to guess I basically that year gave myself a break and said, your goals are to not go crazy about pumping and to enjoy your baby and to survive at work and not get fired.
Survival is always a good goal. We appear to have reached that bar, so that's good. Yeah, I don't even remember. I'm trying to think what I probably would have talked about launching off the clock, like wanting to be happy with that. You know, I often do things like mommy days in the summer with the kids. That was probably one of them. You know, I may have had trips that I was excited about, although I'm not so sure. I don't know. I mean, it's always kind of, I was probably continuing with my running streak. That was probably something I was attempting to keep going with. But the point being, like, not all of life revolves around, you know, if we didn't reach some goal that we set in 2017 for 2018, we are not sitting here beating ourselves up about it on the cusp of 2022. And as Sarah sometimes says, like, goals are here to serve us, not to trap us. So we want to approach this goal setting episode with that mindset, right? This is all about things that we just want to keep our mindset, keep our minds focused on and thinking about in the year, not something that we have to feel bad about ourselves if we don't do, or make ourselves feel like we're somehow less than if our goals are different than anybody else. So it's just about looking forward and asking what the shape of our year should be, right?
Yes. I do feel like I have noticed that my goals have started to be a little bit like variations on a theme. And maybe I'm past the point in my life where I expect a goal to be something totally random, like skydive in Peru or something like that. And I'm okay with that. I don't mean that I'm setting like the exact same goals because I'm failing to reach them. But when I look back, I see a lot of parallels in my lists. And sometimes I think that's totally okay, because things like practicing mindfulness or having more fun with my kids, those can be lifelong efforts. You never really finish. But to me, it's still valuable to take some time at the end of the year to think about whether that's still a priority for me. And some of those still are. So yeah, I guess maybe that would make these episodes a little boring because we're not going to be throwing like really surprising things out there. I mean, maybe there'll be a few surprises. I don't know. But I have noticed that there has started to be a little bit more patterns.
Well, partly it's also that you are a rational goal setter. Like when you set a goal, it's because you want to do it. And in general, when somebody has a goal that they want to do, and that is in fact a realistic goal for them, what that means is that it's something that they actually could do in their current life, like right now, as in today. And if it isn't something that you do today, then it probably isn't going to happen. I mean, I'm not saying people can't make progress in things, but if you think about like, oh, that sounds great, but not for today. I mean, it's like, the prayer of that saint, like grant me continence and chastity, but not yet, right? And so if you're telling yourself, but not yet, I mean, maybe that's not a good goal for you. It has to be something that you would do in your life. And I'm not saying it's not fun to set those pie in the sky sort of goals that may or may not happen, but there's a tension between the excitement about that and the realism of what would legitimately happen. And I think, both of us have come to a place where if we're setting a goal, it's because we want to do it. And if we want to do it, that means we could do it now. So this may be the goals of middle-aged ladies, not the world's most exciting goal-setting episode, but highly likely that we will do them.
Listen to any goal-setting episode that any podcast puts out, because I just like hearing other people's goals. And I'm sure I'm not like the only one that has that particular interest. So even though the middle-aged ladies goals episode sounds boring to you, I'm sure it's very exciting to some.
To someone. So Sarah, what was the framework you have been deciding to use for this year?
Well, two frameworks, I guess. So I have been doing for many years, inspired by Gretchen Rubin's Happier podcast. Okay, well, backstory. I've always made like long lists of goals. And if you go back to something like 2005 or 2006 on my blog, you'll see like 18 goals for the next year. I always write a long list. It doesn't mean I'm trying to do 18 separate large things. Usually some of them are very simple. It just usually happens to be somewhere between 10 and 20 things that I'm interested in thinking about for the next year. And so when she started the whole, I think it was like 18 for 2018, it was one of those years, I was like, that's actually like about a good number. And I like the idea of having a number and not just setting a nebulous, like however many I feel like, just because, I don't know, frameworks are useful. And so I have been using the X for XX for my framework, meaning 19 for 2019, 20 for 2020. And so I decided I'd come up with 22 goals for this year. Some of them kind of have sub goals because, we're not going to read all 22 on this podcast, by the way. That would be a lot. But then within that, I like to set it up in domains, kind of like you do. And the domains that I use for my weekly goals, my monthly goals, everything these days is usually work, family, self, and blog/pod as like my fourth domain. So I also kind of categorize them. And when I share a few of them on today's episode, I guess I'll do them in categories because that'll make it a little bit more palatable than reading a million goals in a row.
Although hopefully you can post all of them on your blog so people can follow along, unless any are particular or personal that you don't wish to share. Yeah, mine is my list. I will confess, I did this because Sarah said we were doing this episode. So that should tell you about what frame of mind I am in when it comes to goals these days. I am keeping it somewhat restrained. I feel like 2021 featured a lot of big, long projects that many of them are ending soon, which is great. However, it has been a lot of building towards stuff and keeping your eye on the goal with a long project, with the home renovation, which we signed the contract in January, broke ground in March. We should have the house to us at the end of December, which means we can then move in for the start of the year. But like all of those are huge things. I mean, totally renovating a house, getting the current house ready to be listed, decluttering everything, getting it ready to move. Long projects. I did the whole of the Tranquility by Tuesday research project, writing the manuscript of the book, editing it. I'm coming back for one more round of edits in December. But I mean, that's the whole course of the year doing that. Just even stuff like we got a puppy in April. And so the course of him growing up over the year has just been sort of a long slog of a process. Some happy moments with puppies, obviously, too. But it is, has some similarities to toddler life, which is another thing that's been going on all year, raising a child from turning 1 at the start of the year to 2. Yeah, there's just a lot of long stuff. So I think my goals are not going to be terrifically ambitious. I'm not going to set too many of them for the upcoming year. A few practical things. I no doubt will do various things as I go, but I'm not setting quarterly goals in all of my 3 spheres: career, family, self. want to be very careful about also setting goals I can control. I usually am careful about this, but just as a reminder, there's a difference between outcome goals and process goals. So, an outcome goal, and I am not saying this should be anyone's goal because I don't like this goal, but if people say, I want to lose 10 pounds, you may not. I mean, you could lose it by getting a stomach bug. That's not really a great way to go about doing it. Whereas the process is things like I'm going to eat, fruits and vegetables with all my meals. I'm going to move for 30 minutes a day. I'm going to make sure I get enough sleep. I'm going to, mostly drink water. Those are things that may or may not make you lose 10 pounds, but they're going to make you healthier regardless. And they're also things that you can actively control each day. And so generally we're better off focusing on those rather than the outcomes, which may or may not happen. Hopefully are more likely to happen, whatever you're setting for yourself. And not losing weight, you don't need to lose weight, but being healthier is the thing to aim for. So anyway, just some thoughts about that.
Yes. I don't want to do any spoilers because we're going to do our year in review, but I can think of a couple of goals that I sent that were purely outcome goals, and some of them ended up working out, but I'm just thinking about it and I'm sort of like, those were really arbitrary goals because I didn't even do anything to make them work out or not. So that's a little teaser for you to come.
Little teaser for something to come. All right. Well, why don't we take a quick ad break and then we'll get into the meat of our goals for 2022. All right. Well, we are back with our annual goal setting episode, looking forward to 2022 and thinking, what are our goals going to be? So, Sarah, let's go ahead and start with you. Why don't you share some of your goals from your 22 and 2022 in your various spheres?
Okay. Again, not going to share all 22 and 22, but I selected a few from each domain yesterday that I decided that I would talk about a little bit. Okay. So for work, again, not going to go into tons of detailed work goals because I think that's just a little bit outside the scope of this podcast. But one work goal that I have is to go to an in-person conference. Now, again, that's a little bit of an outcome goal in that it relies on my institution lifting travel restrictions that are in place right now. And that is clearly not under my control. But it's still a goal because I really, really missed going to them. And I think it would just bring some, connection back into my work that I feel like I've been missing during this pandemic time. And I've spoken before about how I don't really feel like virtual conferences are a great alternative. I guess if I wanted to turn that into a process goal, I would turn it into submit abstract proposals to 2 conferences, because my guess is that if I get accepted to present something and the conference is not offered virtually and only in person, I might be able to get permission anyway, just, because they really want us to present things. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and probably part of that is like a professional fellowship goal too, right? Which is also something that you could control as well. If you want to be engaged with more people in your profession in person, that is something you can do regardless of whether there's a conference, right? That's something that you would have more control over.
Perhaps, but in person requires going places, right? So, truthfully, I could also just use my own funds and travel to a work conference, but part of me is a little stubborn and doesn't wish to do that necessarily. But maybe I would, because I really, really, really do miss it. And if I had a poster accepted somewhere, I would really want to present it. So I'll just make that a goal and hope that it can happen. So that's the work goal that I'm going to share here. More of the goals I'm going to share are in the self and family realm. So in the self realm, I want to do another mini wardrobe improvement. And specifically, I want to focus on having better casual outfits that I feel confident wearing and to get some jewelry. I'm 41. I'm like, how old am I? And I have very few pieces of jewelry. And I don't mean super fancy jewelry. There's a nice middle ground between the jewelry that might be at the dollar store or something and fine jewelry. And I would like to explore that middle ground, especially smaller artists and brands, or looking at art fairs and stuff like that, because I just feel like jewelry can make an outfit look so put together. And if not now, when? I feel like now's my chance. So I want to get some jewelry this year. I This is going to be a funny one. I would like to, I'm going to say it. I want to stay in one planner this year. Laura's like, okay. I didn't know where that one was going.
No, this is a professional hazard for her. Like it's like saying I'm going to only wear black, and yet all the greatest designers in the universe are sending me their wonderful clothes. Like it's kind of hard to do.
It is hard to do, but I have missed just kind of sticking to one system. To be fair, it's not like I switch every week, but I have been switching every few months or so. And I just want to really explore and dive deep into my Hobonichi system next year. It doesn't mean I won't use other things as like adjuncts, but I just want to like stick to my main planner. So that's a goal for me. And then my third self goal that I'm going to share is that I think I want to ramp up and try training for more running stuff again, which is a goal that comes in and out of my life in various phases. It's also very weather dependent. So, the fact that the new year happens when our weather's wonderful makes me all excited about it. And then June hits and I'm like, what was that goal for? It's terrible. But our new house has room to put our treadmill inside where it's air conditioned. And therefore, I think I might be more excited about running in the summer than I have been in previous years. Plus, my kids are finally at an age where if in the afternoon they're playing video games, I could actually very realistically do a run in my house and it wouldn't be a big deal. So I do feel like I've reached kind of a new stage where maybe I could build back some more running in my life. So I think I'm going to try to train for a 5K, like try to train for like a faster 5K. And then maybe I will consider a longer distance race in the fall or winter. So yeah, those are my self goals. I think we should alternate because I don't want to just keep talking.
Well, also because I'm going to run out of them
Yes.
very, very quickly. All right. Well, then my work goal is to launch Tranquility by Tuesday in the fall. For those listeners who haven't heard me yakking about this, this is my next book, Tranquility by Tuesday, 9 Ways to Calm the Chaos and Make Time for What Matters, which is based on a time perception study I did where people learn time management rules, implement them in their lives, report back. Spoiler alert, it works. People feel better about their time. But anyway, I want to be happy with the launch. And to that end, I commit to doing 3 things each week to promote it from now until when it comes out. Obviously, after it comes out, I'll be doing stuff too. But ideally, I'd do more. I had, had a conversation with somebody many years ago talking about book launches. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to do something, it was like a month before my launch. I'm like, I'm trying to do something every single day. And he was like, one thing, why aren't you doing like 5 things, 20 things every day? I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'm just slightly less into self-promotion than some other people. But I do need to do it. Like, hate it as I do need to do it. So ideally, I'll do more. But as we learn in Tranquility by Tuesday, 3 times a week is a habit. So I need to at least do that. And, that will lay the ground for bringing it to as wide an audience as possible, because I think it will be helpful.
I'm so excited to read this book, by the way, like legitimately excited. And I feel like we have to think about how we want to do like a special episode on the podcast or maybe some sort of book club episode. We'll have to think about it.
Well, that'd be great.
So I'm very, very excited for this goal
that could
for
be
you.
2 things 1 week. That's
there you
great.
go.
We've already solved that problem. I'll just do, I can do my family ones and then we'll go to you for a minute. My family goals is to settle into our new home. We may be moved by January 1st. It may happen slightly after that. But it's going to be a transition. Like this is there's no way around it. Moving is incredibly disruptive. I mean, to all your systems, like, where are the keys? Where are the, zoo membership cards? Where are the umbrellas? Where are, everything? Like you have to rebuild all your systems. And I want to make it feel like home, over the course of the year, make it really feel like our place. And, there will be all sorts of things that come in with that. You said you want to refresh your wardrobe. I mean, that'll be part of it. I now have a really lovely closet with lots of space. So, it'd be good to have clothes that I feel happy about having in that closet rather than, the sweater with holes in it from 15 years ago. So just stuff like that. And in general, wanting to have more couple fun. We did an episode recently on marriage and, staying close with your partner through the busy years. I think things are going to improve somewhat as Henry gets older over the next year. He'll turn 2 at the end of December, so he'll be 3 by the end of 2022. And it does start getting better. I mean, already he can be somewhat entertained by watching a video for, 5 minutes before he gets distracted. But it's just things do start to settle down a little. You start to get some of that space back, and hopefully we'll use some of that for, just having more adult fun. I feel like that's been something that we've had a lot less of for various reasons with small children and the pandemic and so forth. So yeah, those are in that category. What's your next category?
Well, I'll do family too, to mirror yours.
Okay.
So, as everybody knows, we are both moving on very similar time frames. We close in January, and we're probably going to move in February because we want to do some like extremely minor, like nothing compared to what Laura has done renovations. Like our renovations consist of painting and ripping out one area of carpet, and I think we're going to call it good. So, we're excited about that. And my plan for settling into the house, and I believe I made this goal last year and I did not meet it, but I think I'm ready now, is to go through the Organize 365 100-day program. And by the way, I am now like a paying, Lisa did initially gift me the program. And then I was like, I love your stuff so much. I'm just going to go all in. And so I have paid for a lot of her stuff now. And I just really enjoy it. And I'm excited to go through the house and look at all 100 areas. And she does say that if you do it 3 times, your house will feel completely under control. So I'm going to do it in this new place. So I'm very excited about that. Now, in terms of kind of like kids and quality time, I was thinking about mommy days, but I think I'm going to try something a little bit different and instead aim for once a month to do like a post-work mommy outing. So that way I don't necessarily have to take an entire day off, and it doesn't have to be like fun festival for the kid, which is what it ends up being. But that way I think we could have some concentrated quality time, because I think the issue is getting that one-on-one, which is harder and harder to do. And so if I aim for each kid once a month, that's like 3 weeks out of the month that I'm doing like a one evening thing. And I think that's doable because our nanny's happy to stay, and many times actually starts her day pretty late. So it's not an issue to have her stay a little bit later. So I'm excited. We're going to try that. And I would like to host a couple of things this year. So hoping to have a book club, maybe bringing back the parenting book club. We will see. That was so much fun. Maybe with some people who live closer to me now, although I think some of my 40-minute away friends would still be interested. And I want to have at least one dinner party in our new home, which I think will be doable, and it'll be a nice way to welcome some of our neighbors. We're actually already kind of friends with the people who found us the house in the first place, 2 doors away. So they'll probably be our first dinner party. So very doable, but I think will be rewarding and fun.
Dinner parties would be good. Yeah, we should do something in my new house. We should have people over to my new house. To get my head around doing that. Well, I'll skip to my self goal. I only have in 3 categories anyway. So my self goals are 2 things. First, I want to read through the entire works of William Shakespeare. Now, people are like, well, that sounds quite like a big thing. And maybe it is, but I'm going to do it in the course of a year. And our longtime listeners know that I've been reading through War and Peace, 1 chapter a day over the course of 2021, which it has about 360 chapters. I am nearing the end. I'm actually in the epilogue now, but the epilogue has like 30 chapters. So that's why I'm still, reading through December toward the to the end of the month with much of his musings on the nature of history. I really wish Tolstoy had cut some of that. But anyway, it's been a very manageable pace. It only takes a couple minutes a day. And so you really absorb the whole work. Like you really get to know the characters. You're not rushing through it. I have read War and Peace in the past, but I was trying to go quickly because when you've got a 1,400-page book, you're like, I got to get through it. But when there's no pressure to get through it, because you're only going to read a couple pages a day, you can really pay attention and pick up a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise. And so that's how I want to do Shakespeare. I've obviously read a great many of the plays. I've seen many performed. I had a job in college where I was filing and copying, and I would listen to his works on a CD, like, because that's a portable CD player, like with my headphones while I was filing and copying. I would actually listen to
I
that.
have to interject because I had like that same job.
Okay.
And you were listening to Shakespeare,
Yes.
and I was reading online transcripts of Friends. So
Wait, what?
Okay.
How does what even is that? Like,
my job was really easy.
Uh-huh.
It was like 1998 8 or something.
yeah.
And I went to board.com because obviously I was bored.
Yes.
And they had like all the scripts of Friends. So you could like read them. But I just like when you said the Shakespeare
But
thing,
see,
I'm
I
like,
couldn't read while I was doing this job, right? I had to,
yeah.
I was like physically making copies and
But
filing
you could have
things.
been listening to anything and you chose Shakespeare. Like that says a lot about you. I'm very impressed.
Well, it seemed like a good thing to do at the time. But, so I was listening to performances of his plays, which is probably a better way actually to experience it than what I'm about to do with reading it. But, this is what it is. I'm going to be able to look more at the words and see the wordplay. And so anyway, I have a schedule. I'm obviously not the first person to come up with doing this. I have a collected works of William Shakespeare, which humorously, I've got to read this to you because it is so funny. I'm showing Sarah the book, but it has 1,024 pages, purchased for £3.99 in, as it turned out, there is a little inscription on here that says, purchased at Stratford-on-Avon, England by Michael Conway during the summer of 1988.
That is so cute.
Isn't that cute?
I love that. Aww.
So,
well, maybe you could, if there's any performances of Shakespeare that happen to go on in your area, or perhaps maybe one in New York, you could like celebrate by going to a couple of live plays.
Yeah, no, especially if I find one of the more obscure ones, like that would be really hilarious if you're like, nobody ever performs that, but now I'm going to. Yeah, it's only going to be, 1,024 pages. It's only going to be 3 pages a day. And it's small print. It's like, like King James Bible size print, but it's going to be doable. Like it's very, very doable in 365 days to read through all of that. So I'm excited about that. Actually, that's going to be cool. Finally, strength training, which yes, I set this as a goal like pretty much every year, but my goal is to do the exact same thing I did this year, which is to do something every single day. And it's more that I'm trying to build the habit and build the interest. And as it comes to this, I'm a very stubborn person. And so I don't really feel like doing much, but I'm going to just keep building the habit of doing something and hope that some days I will be inspired to do more by having the habit of doing something. And, so every day this year, I do at least, a single squat. Usually more. I do many other things, but, something and more when I can. So yeah, those are my goals for the year.
That is awesome. I love it. Well, my one other category that I have is blog/pod. And I don't have any growth goals, especially since we'll have to do another episode on I have left Instagram, like for now, like maybe for whatever, I don't know. And so I don't know how growth is going to go, but I had a professional that Laura actually is friends with or knows who is going to help me write an ebook, meaning that I'm not going to write it. We're going to write it together, but it's not really going to be like as big of a project for me as it is going to be a collaborative thing. And so I think there's a lot greater chance that it will actually happen compared to years past where it was like this vague side project that I was going to accomplish. So I'm very excited about that. I don't have any specifics to give you, like dates, but it will be based on my best laid plans, work, and ideas. And this will be news to her because she's waiting to hear back from me. So she hears
You better call her and tell her that.
I'll email her today. She had a whole proposal and I was like, okay, I'll let you know. So I like it though. And I think it'll be worthwhile. And so you heard it here first. And yeah, I think this is one
that's exciting. I'm glad it's finally going to be, the book is going to exist. That's great. And yeah, as you said, it was one more thing to fit on your schedule and you're, doing a lot of other things. So clearly this was something that it, required a little bit of help to bring to fruition. You have the ideas, you just need someone to execute on it. And that's the way to go. So I'm very excited about this.
Yay.
Yeah.
So that's my blog pod goal. And then just keep all this fun stuff going, which is a goal in and of itself.
So those are our goals for the year, I guess. We have more, perhaps. Sarah does. I don't. But you can read all about those on her blog, obviously, theshoebox.com. So please be checking that out. So we are going to go to our question section. So I'm going to read it, and then Sarah can answer first, and I will follow up with that. So this is from a mom who has dialed back she's a pharmacist, and she has dialed back to 1 day a week doing that job. She is very happy with the current arrangement, but she says that she feels guilty because she is not setting an example for her kids of keeping a big job. So, Sarah, what is your response to her and her feelings of guilt about this?
This one was hard. Actually, it was a very long question and I left out some of the details, but part of it had to do with like her mom worked hard and is she living up to that? However, she was pretty clear that she was quite happy and it was more about feelings about what she should do rather than what her family needed. And so my thought is that she should just like not change anything just because she feels guilty about the idea that she's not living up to somebody else's prior example or idea, but she could still emphasize to the family that her decision to work less wasn't due to just her being the mom, but due to just what felt right for her and how she enjoys the arrangement and is, glad for the professional experience she got earlier on. I also have to say, since this person is in the pharmacist field, that is a career I'm guessing would be pretty easy to ramp up at some point if you wanted later. So, discussing that with your kids as well, being like, wow, I chose a job that, right now I'm really, really happy doing it very part-time, but in the future, maybe I'll do more later and maybe I won't. And this is more of a lesson of like, do what makes you happy rather than like follow some specific trope. So I don't know. My gut feeling was to really like work hard to let go of that guilt and enjoy the arrangement if it works for you and your family.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you are happy with your life, that is awesome. And that is really the only thing that matters. I think especially with something like this, it is good to model the idea of keeping a hand in the game. And so I'm really glad that she did stay one day a week. I mean, obviously, whether she needs to work or not, in quotes, but just to model that, like, you don't completely opt out and retire and then have some like moment where like, oh, I need to figure out what to do professionally with my life. Like, no, she kept a hand in. She's at a place where she can scale up if she needs or wants to at any point, and especially with a career like this where she has gotten all the training she's maintaining and can, do more in the future if she wants. I mean, my one caveat, obviously, I didn't see the whole question. Sarah paraphrased this for us in the notes. But the fact that she was writing into us may mean that there's some feeling in there, that there's some unmet ambition. And precisely because she is working fewer hours than, she theoretically could be, there may be some space, I mean, particularly as her children grow, to meet some of that need, and possibly not in the way of just working more hours in the pharmacy, because maybe it's that she doesn't actually really want to do more hours especially if she was doing a retail pharmacy type job. It's obviously different if you're like in a hospital or whatever, but it's kind of the same thing, like day to day if you're in a retail pharmacy. And so maybe that's really all she wants to experience of it. It's a day or two a week. But maybe she could become more involved in sort of the pharmaceutical industry, right? Like she could become involved in the industry association. She could take on a limited time leadership role, right? Like help with conference planning. That's something that would be a limited time frame, but she could, make that happen and meet a lot of people that way and sort of stay at the forefront of the field, even though she's doing fewer hours in kind of the retail version of it. That would all be developing, other skills, keeping life interesting, modeling, taking one's career seriously, no matter how many hours she is actually working. So that would just be my thought on that.
I love it.
All right. So love of the week. Sarah, what's yours?
Oh, mine is so basic, but I've kind of changed up my weekend routine and I'm starting to just pretty much accept the fact that grocery delivery is just our normal right now. And I love it. Every time it comes, like I didn't have to go to the store. I could peacefully sit on my computer as I meal plan and just it all comes. It's like magic. Yes, I tip well. Yes, I know it's like an incredible privilege to be able to use this service, but it's very much worth it to me and I love it.
That's great. So, yeah, my love of the week is that Michael has often been grocery shopping with Henry in tow. The two of them go grocery shopping, which is just a really nice way to have Henry out of the house for an hour or so. The two of them just go around the shopping cart, do their thing. One thing with having somebody else procuring groceries, you just have to think about what you want and make sure that those items make it on the list. And obviously, the more Michael does the grocery shopping, the more he learns like what I want. And so the things come that are like, I have to just own up to the fact that I want him to purchase at least 1 pint and possibly 2 of the Ben and Jerry's non-dairy fish food, that PHISH, that flavor. It's like chocolate with marshmallow, gooey caramel, and dark chocolate fish without any dairy. I haven't quite figured that out because caramel is like usually entirely milk-based and chocolate and all that, but it's good. I don't know. It's awesome. So, and I have to start asking him to add rotisserie chickens to the thing because he would, it never would occur to him to buy a rotisserie chicken, but I actually love them and I eat them for lunch when I go to the grocery store. So anyway, my love of the week is having him do that, but it was going to be the non-dairy fish food, but I think I've said that before. Anyway. All right. Well, this has been Best of Both Worlds. We have been talking about our goals for 2022. Please check out our blogs for more on this. Sarah, theshoebox.com, mine, of course, lauravanderkam.com. We will be back next week with more on making work and life fit together.
Thanks for listening. You can find me, Sarah, at theshoebox.com or at @the_shoebox on Instagram.
And you can find me, Laura, at lauravanderkam.com. This has been the Best of Both Worlds podcast. Please join us next time for more on making work and life work together.